Hello, and welcome to the Carolinas Luxury Real Estate Podcast. On today's episode, we will be talking about North Carolina coastal fishing. I'm your host, Sam Sparks, and joining me to discuss coastal fishing in North Carolina is Quentin Jones, who is an experienced agent with Ivester Jackson Coastal Christies. Thanks for joining me today, Quentin.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you on the show. So can you go ahead and start by telling us a little bit about what brought you to Christies?
Yeah, so Christie's really, it was the name, the regalness of the brand. I had a yearning to be a part of, something that had a prestigious feel to it, in the luxury market. And so that's what I needed to help expand my business into the luxury market. So.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's a very well-known brand, so I understand why you came. Same for me. All right, well, let's jump on into it. So what are the hot spots on the Carolina coast to go offshore for fishing, such as Outer Banks, Wilmington, and other places like that?
So there's a lot of, offshore fishing. If you look at the coast of North Carolina, Wilmington is, tucked in a little bit from the Gulf Stream. That's really the place to go to get the offshore species. But Wilmington is a great area, and then you can go further north 2 hours up to the Moorhead area, where the Gulf Stream actually comes in closer to the North Carolina coast, and it's not quite as far of a run, to get those big game species that people want to catch, the marlin and the sailfish and the fun pretty fish. So
Nice. So you're saying because it's tucked in a little bit, that's actually better for the fishing?
It is. So from Wilmington, it's probably 50, 60-mile run in a boat, which could take 2 hours plus, depending on the speed. And there further up north, it actually does come in closer to the coast. So it's probably cut in half, 25, 30 miles to the the deep water and the warm water. That's where those fish hang out.
Nice. I'm going to learn a lot about fishing today. I love it. All right. Now, what types of fish are out there, and does seasonality play a factor, or are permits required?
So there are permits required for an annual license in North Carolina. If you're a North Carolina resident, I believe it's like $16. If you're a non-resident, it's I think $32 for the year. So I mean, if you can cover that, that's not a big expense at all. Or if you go with a guide or on a charter, then usually that's provided by that captain. But as far as different seasons, that's the one thing that I'm just really promote here in Wilmington, at least, is you can go fishing basically year round here, all the way through the winter. Actually, some of the best fishing is in the winter, if you can bundle up and put on the long johns for the cold days. But there's a wide variety of inshore, offshore, in different types of fishing that you can do year round. So if you're into fishing, there's something you can challenge yourself to throughout the year.
Nice. So just like inside the states, we've got like crappie. I think it is like early on in the season, like springtime, and you can't catch them after that. So it's probably like that, right?
It is. I almost wish I, had a journal written down. I've got it all in my head now. But yeah, there's, springtime species. And then when the water warms up, the bait shows up, and then that brings in, a whole different element of, fishing off the beach is what I will say, I guess. Not quite the Gulf Stream, but out in the ocean. We'll have cobia, and there's great Spanish mackerel fishing. There's artificial reefs, but I mean the list just goes on and on the variety of fish. I mean, inshore, you're looking at red drum, flounder, speckled trout, all fantastic eating fish. Then you've got your bottom fishing where, that's usually in the fall and the winter. They seem to come in a little bit closer and you can catch, your grouper, different snappers, they're all just wonderful eating as well. But it's just, that would be a whole different discussion going into everything you can do in the fall, winter, spring, and summer. So,
wow, that's pretty appealing, I'm sure, to a lot of people. So, are there any big tournaments such as like the Marlin tournament up in Morehead City?
yeah, so that is probably the best known tournament, and it is quite the spectacle. If you haven't been to go visit at Morehead in June, I would definitely say go check it out. It brings in a ton of people, not to mention a ton of the big sport fishing boats. The $1 million, multi-million-dollar, 60, 70, 80. I mean, 80-foot, basically floating townhomes that you can fish off of, and it's really a spectacle to see. I think this year they had all sorts of new records. They had, I think, 266 boats entered, and a prize purse of over 5.8 million in prize money. Yeah, I believe the first place boat, they actually weighed in a fish, a blue marlin. It's a blue marlin fishing tournament, over 500 pounds on the first day. And that actually held throughout the week of fishing. And they were able to get other points in, release divisions. But they ended up winning over $3 million in prize money from a fishing tournament. Yeah.
500-pound marlin.
Yeah. I mean, they get up to 1,000 pounds, or bigger.
How do you even pull something like that in? I mean,
it takes a team. The captain will maneuver the boat, and they call it, backing down on the fish.
mhm.
But I mean, sometimes they'll fight these fish for 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes it goes on for longer. It really is pretty fascinating to see the team and the captain. And I mean they've got headsets on and everyone's communicating. I mean it really is an event.
Yeah, that's incredible. Wow. Quarter a ton. Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are some of the popular fishing marina type communities there in Wilmington? Any like stuff in Carolina Beach with gated communities at the front, or what do you have out there?
Yeah, so there's really a lot of options. From Southport, there's Bald Head Island, which is obviously an island. The only way you can get there is by ferry, though. So there's no bridge to that island. But they have a marina there. There's several big marinas and communities, basically up the whole coast. That you could, potentially rent a boat slip or, buy a house that has a boat slip deeded to the property. They've even got townhomes if somebody's not interested in, buying a, larger house. I mean, they've got townhomes that have boat slips. So there's a lot of different options up and down the coast. And it really, my advice would be, just get with somebody who's got local knowledge, and better yet, somebody's got local knowledge of the water, and the inlets that could be close to you, so that way you can best position yourself if fishing and boating is something you want to move to Wilmington and do.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow. So do you ever come across people who evaluate the fishing element in their housing choice in terms of location or access to docks?
Yes, and it's usually the husband, and unfortunately, his need for that is second to where the wife wants to live. But usually, it's a joint commitment, and they can agree on something. And but the other nice aspect about Wilmington is we have a lot of dry dock storage. So if you want to live in Wilmington, still close to the beach and the water, but yet you want to be in a golf and tennis community with near the country club, we've got a lot of options where you can have dry dock boat storage, a mile or two away from your house. And a lot of times, if you can't find that your home with a boat slip in front of your house, that is a great option, because you can call ahead, say, hey, put my boat in the water. I'll be there in 30 minutes. And you really just walk, to the end of the dock and jump on. And when you get back, hop off, and they take care of your boat, put everything up for you. That's really probably one of the more popular options here, just because, inventory right now, it's tough to find a place that has a dock. And price wise, it's a lot easier to be able to do something like that, where you can quickly be at your boat from a mile or two away.
Yeah. Well, that's surprising. Most of the dry docks here, or dry storage, is still basically on the water, but you're saying some of them are actually almost a mile or 2 miles away from the actual water.
No, well, I guess I was saying, if your house,
Gotcha.
if your wife, wanted to be close to the country club, and you were a mile or two away from the water,
Gotcha.
There's still a lot of options for a quick drive, to your, boat.
Gotcha. Okay. So they're not actually taxiing your boat a mile or two away from the ocean in. Okay. I gotcha.
Right. And
That's
the boat ramp here is great, during the fall and the off season, I guess. But during the middle of summer, it is quite hectic. If you've ever seen any of those videos online of public boat ramps. So yeah, the best, if you can't find a house with your own private dock or marina in the community, having a dry dock slip is the next best choice.
Oh yeah, definitely more affordable than buying a house on the water.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Now, what are the differences between offshore and inshore fishing, and what are the pros and cons of each location?
So, offshore fishing is definitely going to be, you've got to have all the gear, electronics, safety equipment, just the fishing rods alone, add up to be, tens of thousands of dollars. It is a expensive hobby. And then, the other thing is, that's also very weather dependent. So you've got to kind of pick and choose your days, and, obviously watch the weather and make sure it's going to be decent to go out. I always joke with people to say that, it'd be ideal to have a, inshore boat and an offshore boat. So that way you can do both. But the difference is, cost of fuel, cost of gear, all that. But if you, can, do it, there's also the inshore aspect where you've got, your fly fishing. There's a great flats fishing here. Actually, also, people don't really know that, where they get on a, technical skiff, and that's really like a, 16 to 18 foot boat, and someone, poles you around in the water. Sometimes you're in, 6 inches of water, sight casting to, fish. And that's the whole visual aspect of, seeing the fish in front of you. And that's, really, really popular here too. So, and that again would be a whole nother topic. Maybe we'll have to talk about that, as, the different types of boats and what's best for around here. But the inshore stuff also, it's really anybody can do it, from, beginner to somebody who's, experienced and done it their whole life. The kids love it because, it doesn't have to be, perfect weather all day, or, the offshore is a commitment. Once you're 60 miles offshore, you better be sure that the weather is going to, hold out the rest of the day. Not to mention the prep time that goes into offshore fishing.
Wow.
There's literally the day before offshore fishing, it takes, almost the full day of just prep of, getting the boat fueled up, ice, getting all your tackle and gear, everything tied, and make sure everything is working as intended. So a lot of planning and prep goes into offshore fishing, but it's worth it.
Yeah. No, to your point, that there's a lot more that goes into it than I even thought. So,
yeah. Me and my friends always joke, saying when you go offshore fishing, it's a 3-day process. It's a 1 day for prep. The second day you're actually fishing, and you're usually waking up at 3:30 in the morning, leaving the dock at 5 to be fishing by 7, and then the third day is recovery. Because you're so exhausted. So it's usually a 3-day thing when you want to go, offshore and, catch the big pelagic species.
Nice. All right. Well, I think that was pretty good. So now, Quentin, it is time for the lightning round portion of the podcast.
Okay.
You ready to go?
Sure.
All right. First question. If you could have any fish as your sidekick, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I would probably say a grouper.
Okay.
A grouper, they are, in my opinion, pound for pound, just absolute brutes. They call them the backbreaker. They are probably my favorite fish to catch, but they're and probably one of the best eating. So that would probably be my sidekick.
Nice. Got protection and food if you ever need. Perfect.
That's right.
All right. Next question. If you could go back in time 10,000 years and make a cave painting to confuse everyone in the future, what would you draw?
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. To confuse everyone?
Uh-huh.
I think, oh, my goodness. The first thing that comes to mind is, the hieroglyphics with, the Egyptian and the animal heads on the human bodies. That's pretty confusing as it is, understanding the Egyptian gods and all that. So probably something along that line. That was the first thing that came to mind. I don't know.
Yeah, put a fish head on it and really confuse people, right?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. If you've been granted a one-way ticket to any other country in the world to go fishing, where were you going?
Well, I would have to say Cuba, because I'm actually going to Cuba this October. It's been a trip 2 years in planning. COVID has postponed it, but my dad and 12 other guys, we're all going to Cuba and staying on a mothership houseboat that has small skiffs on it for fly fishing. And so we're going down there and fishing for 6 days, and it's going to be incredible. It doesn't have a lot of the pressure as some of the other countries in Mexico and Belize that get a lot of the tourists. So it is going to be a trip of a lifetime, and I'm super excited about it.
Wow. Well, that sounds like fun. Be careful out there. Don't catch any 500-pounders, right?
Yeah.
All right. What's the best topping for ice cream, in your opinion?
I'm a Hershey's chocolate syrup guy.
Oh, okay.
Vanilla with Hershey's chocolate syrup. It's a classic.
Okay. So you're a fan of the sundae then, right?
Yeah. And then I guess second, I would have to say Oreo.
Hey, there you go. Oreo's mine. So I was hoping to get that up there. All right. Last one. Would you rather speak all languages or be able to talk to animals?
Oh,
Now fish is in there as well. So I mean,
Well, I've got two dogs, and man, I really wish I knew what they were thinking a lot of the times. But I swear, you know, I'd probably have to say talk to animals, honestly.
okay.
And then that might be overrated after a week or two, and I would have wished I would have selected all languages.
Can't imagine the conversations are too intellectual with animals.
Exactly.
You never know. You never know. Oh man. All right. Well, once again, thank you, Quentin, for joining me today and talking about coastal fishing in the Carolinas. It was great picking your brain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to put this out there too that I'm overly passionate about fishing here. I've actually got my captain's license. I've been doing it for a long time. So if there's anybody out there that wants to get more information or find out some local guides and stuff here in the area, feel free to give me a call, and happy to chat with any fishing, boated, or housing related stuff, and get them pointed in the right direction here at the coast. So
And how can they connect with you? Email, phone number? Which one?
yeah, email, phone number. We can put a link, I guess, in the video. But if anybody's listening and wants to write it down, my cell is 336-740-4102, and just feel free to call me anytime. Happy to chat fishing or houses, whatever you need.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks again. And if anyone wants more information about the firm, you can visit us at ivesterjackson.com. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
Thanks.